Hello children, welcome to the physics class. In this we will be dealing with electrostatic potential energy for point charges, then electrostatic potential energy for a dipole, electric flux, and in the electric flux we'll be discussing about in a uniform field, a non-uniform field, closed surfaces, and then finally Gauss law. The first one is electrostatic potential energy for a collection of point charges. Suppose say you have different charges which are placed at different distances, then what will be the electrostatic potential energy due to the collection of point charges is being discussed over here. Now if you see the diagram, you have three charges Q1, Q2 and Q3 which are placed at A, B and C respectively. Now, suppose say you have the charge Q1 alone initially, which is brought from infinity and kept at the point A. Then the potential developed due to this will be represented as K into Q1 by R, where K is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Now you bring another charge Q2 from infinity and place it at B, such that the distance between them is represented as R1, 2. Then the work done to move the charge from infinity to Q2 against the force of attraction between Q1 and Q2 will be represented as W, which is equal to Q2 into V. Or the electrostatic potential energy U is represented as Q2 into V, which is equal to K into Q1 Q2 by R, where K is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Or in general, you can represent the work done as Q2 V1B, that is the potential of the first charge with respect to B. Now, or in general, U is represented as electrostatic potential energy and is represented as K into Q1 Q2 by R1 2. Now suppose say you have another charge Q3 which is placed at C, then the work done will depend upon Q3 into V1C plus V2C. That means the potential developed by the first charge plus the potential developed by the second charge. Suppose say you have a fourth charge, then the work done will be represented as Q4 and into V1C plus V2C plus V3C and so on it goes. Okay. Or in general, you write it as U is equal to K Q1 Q3 by R13 plus Q2 Q3 by R23, where R13 and R23 are the distances between the two charges. Now the potential energy between the three charges is represented as Q1 Q2 R12 plus Q1 Q3 plus R by R13 plus Q2 Q3 by R23. Now this is important when you deal with problems. Okay. Or the stored potential energy U is equal to the total external work done to assemble the three charges at the given locations. Now from the equation it is very clear that it is independent. The potential energy is independent of the manner in which the configurations are arranged. Configuration of the charges is arrived at. Okay. The one is electrostatic potential energy of a dipole in a uniform electric field. You know what is a dipole? Two equal and opposite charges separated by a small distance is known as a dipole. Okay, now you have in the diagram you have a dipole which is placed in uniform electric field between, and the distance between the dipole is represented as 2a and the angle subtended is equal to theta with respect to the electric field. Now suppose say the initial angle is theta dash and the whole dipole is rotated by giving an external torque. It is rotated to another angle theta, then the torque and a torque will be exerted by the electric field will be equal and opposite to the external torque has to be applied on the dipole. Or in other words, the work done by the external torque to rotate the dipole from angle theta dash to theta at a constant angular velocity is represented as W, which is equal to integral of tau external into d theta. Now we already know tau is equal to, or the torque is equal to, P cross E vector. P vector cross E vector, or in other words it is nothing but P sin theta. Therefore W will be equal to integral of P sin theta d theta within the limits theta dash to theta. Work done will be equal to PE. If you integrate it, you get it as cos theta dash minus cos theta, substituting the limits. The change in the internal energy, electrostatic potential energy will be represented as del U, which is equal to minus PE cos theta plus PE cos theta dash. If the initial angle is theta dash, which is equal to 90 degrees and is taken as a reference point, then u theta dash will be equal to 0. Therefore, u is equal to minus pe cos theta, or minus p vector dot e vector. The potential energy is maximum when the dipole is aligned anti-parallel, that is theta is equal to pi to the external electric field, and minimum when the dipole is aligned parallel, that is theta is equal to 0 to the external field. The next one is electric flux. You know what is electric flux. Now, in order to understand Gauss law, we should know what is electric flux. Now, electric flux is nothing but the number of electric field lines crossing a given area kept normal to the electric field lines is called as electric flux. It is represented as psi, and it's a scalar quantity. It can be positive or negative. Its unit is Newton meter squared per coulomb. Say for example, you're sitting inside a room. The number of electric lines passing through this room is termed as electric flux. Now, if you see the diagram, the charge plus Q, the electric field lines are moving everywhere. Now, for a particular area A and B, the total number of electric lines passing through this particular area is known as electric flux. Next, you have the electric flux at different positions. Now, first we'll see for uniform electric field. Now, electric flux, as I told you, is equal to psi, which depends upon the electric field and the area in which the area is being placed, whether it is going to be parallel or perpendicular or inclined at an angle theta. So for the first diagram, you see you find the electric flux, that is the chosen area A, is normal to the electric field lines. It is so the value is going to be equal to psi, which is equal to Ea, because psi is equal to Ea cos theta, and since theta is equal to 0, you get it as Ea. Okay. The next diagram shows that the area A is kept parallel to the uniform electric field, and so no electric field lines pierce through it because theta is equal to 90 degrees, so cos 90 is equal to 0. So the electric flux will be 0. Now suppose say if it is inclined at an angle theta with the field, then the component of the electric field perpendicular to the area alone contributes to the electric flux, or in other words, psi is equal to E cos theta into A, or in general you can write it as psi is equal to E dot A vector, E vector dot A vector, which is equal to Ea cos theta. Okay. Next you have, suppose say you don't have a uniform electric field. You're going to find out the electric flux in a non-uniform electric field, and in an it is not a flat surface, so it is an arbitrarily shaped area. Then what we'll have to do is we'll have to consider the entire area into small parts. That is del AI. You call it as del AI. That is the differential quantity of the total area A. So each one is divided into del AI. That is the flux will be written as E vector dot del A1 and plus E2 dot A del A2 and so on up till n number of particles. Or it can be represented as summation of E vector dot del of A vector within the limits, that is I takes a value from 1 to n. By taking the limit del I is tending to 0, then you can represent flux as integral of E dA. E vector dot dA vector. Now, if you see the given the electric flux for a given surface depends on both the electric field pattern on the surface area and orientation of the surface with respect to the electric field. Okay. So it is clear that the electric flux for a given surface depends on both the electric field pattern on the surface area and orientation of the surface with respect to the electric field. The next one is electric flux for closed surfaces. Suppose say you have closed surfaces and you're going to find out the electric field for such closed surfaces. Suppose say you consider a closed surface in the region of a non-uniform electric field. Then the value of the flux is written as a circular integral of E vector dot dA vector. Okay. Now, in general, the electric flux is negative if the electric field lines enter the closed surface and positive if the electric field lines leave the closed surface. Now, the points to be noted here are the total electric flux over a closed surface can be negative, positive, or zero. Or in general, the electric flux is negative if the electric field lines enter the closed surface and positive if the electric field lines leave the closed surface. Next, we come to Gauss law. Okay. Now, Gauss law is nothing but, as I told you, if the charge enclosed, if the charge Q is enclosed by an arbitrary closed surface, then the total electric flux psi E through the closed surface will be equal to psi, that is circular integral of EA vector dA vector E into dA vector, which is equal to Q enclosed by epsilon naught. Now, if you see, the charge plus Q is kept at the center and an imaginary Gaussian surface is drawn around it, which is uniform, and if you see, the distance throughout is going to be r, and here they consider an area dA vector of the total surface. Now, when the charge is at the center of the sphere, the electric field is everywhere normal to the surface and constant in magnitude. Therefore, you can represent psi flux as integral of circular integral of E vector dot dA vector, which is equal to dE into dA cos theta. Now, since cos theta is equal to 0, theta is equal to 0, cos 0 will be equal to 1. Therefore, the flux linked will be equal to circular integral of E dA. E is uniform on the surface of the sphere. Or in general, flux is equal to E circular integral of dA. Now, here if you find out the integral of dA, it is a sphere, so the value will be equal to 4 pi squared. 4 pi r squared. 4 pi r squared. And we already know E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r squared. Therefore, you substitute the value 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r squared into 4 pi r squared. 4 pi and 4 pi r squared will get cancelled. So, the net result is the electric flux, according to Gauss law, will be equal to Q enclosed by epsilon naught. Now, if you take an arbitrarily shaped surface, the net electric flux is same through all surfaces. Gauss law states that if a charge Q is enclosed by an arbitrary closed surface, then the total electric flux psi through this closed surface is psi is equal to circular integral of EdA vector, which is equal to Q enclosed by epsilon naught. Now, discussion of Gauss law. Now, what are the points to be noted while you're discussing about Gauss law? The first one is the total electric flux depends only on charges enclosed by the surface. The second point is it is independent of the location of the charges inside the closed surface. Next, the imaginary surface drawn to derive the equation is called a Gaussian surface. The shape depends on the type of charge, configuration, and kind of symmetry. Now, for different charges, the Gaussian surface will be different. For example, for a point charge, it will be spherical. The Gaussian surface will be spherical in nature. For other kind of charges, it can be cylindrical or planar Gaussian surface. So, electric field is due to the charges inside and outside the Gaussian surface. Electric field is due to the charges inside and outside the Gaussian surface, whereas Q enclosed is due to the charges only inside the Gaussian surface. And the Gaussian surface cannot pass through discrete charges but can pass through continuous charge distributions. Gauss law is another form of Coulomb's law, and it is applicable to charges in motion also. Okay, so with this I complete this presentation. Children, go through the presentation. In the next class, we will be seeing about the applications of Gauss law. You have 3 derivations. Thank you.